Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now this next sequence of videos that I'm producing, I'm just editing one of them here. It's a bit of an odd one because I had intended to, in addition to the major project with the kitchen cupboards, I was going to get lots of little jobs done and just produce those as one-offs. And this first episode here, that's what I was intending, but it's one of those things that the cupboards just took over. This one got put on the back burner and I didn't touch it for months. And then I got the cupboards finished and I thought, no, I must crack on with this one. So I've got quite a bit of footage that was just sitting there. And I'm thinking, well, I've done all these different clips. I haven't given a thought to episode beginnings and endings. So apart from this first episode that does have some sort of introduction, so what I'm thinking is I'm just going to produce all of these. I've got 5 almost in the can now, and I would think it will be another 3 at least before this project is finished. It's much bigger than I thought it would be. So it's going to be spread over many weeks and months. I'll give you some idea of the length of time that it's taken. When I produce them, I'll put a little date code at the bottom of the screen, and hopefully the introduction that I've filmed for this episode will go some way to explain what it's all about. I'll not spoil the surprise now. So let me know what you think, and welcome to one of the little projects that I'm going to be working on over the next few months. Now this is being slotted in at whenever I can fit it in. So what I'm going to be doing is little bits and then I'll lump it all together at the end. It shouldn't take that long. Having said that, I've said that before, haven't I? But anyway, the little project I want this time is a mantel shelf over one of our fires. And now in the UK there are several regulations with regard to how you can put mantel shelves near fires, especially if they're wood. And here you have to have at least 6 inches of clearance all round. So the fire itself is 800 millimeters wide, so that means 6-inch clearance above and anything at the sides. So that is going to mean I need to have the length of the shelf at least 1100 millimeters, so that's 800 plus 150 either side. I'm going to be using wall plates with OG style supports, a bit like I've used before. And so that again will add a little bit of time to things. And what I'm going to be doing is using some of the pitch pine that I have. Now it's totally reclaimed wood. This has come from my brother's house. He bought himself a Methodist manse and associated chapel. And when he was starting to dismantle the chapel, there was all this pitch pine for the pews. So there was no way that I could have all of it, but he generously let me have some of it. Now, because it's from the pews, a lot of it is tongue and groove. Now I can use that for the top, make use of that. But the biggest problem I've had in the past when I've used this is the finish that they put on it when they built the pews in the first place. So that's going to take quite a lot of paint stripper to get rid of the old varnish, and it comes up quite nicely. And because it's pitch pine, it won't need any other treatment apart from just sanding down. So most of it is 1 inch thick. It is standard 1 inch, 25 millimeters. Apart, there are one or two, like the seat, that's 1.5 inches. Now that's a huge slab of timber, and I'm not going to cut into that at the moment. But again, because it's totally reclaimed, there are nails here, there and everywhere. There's little slots, so I'm going to have to work round those. But that's the project, the mini project, and see what you think when I've finished it. So the first thing to do is to see if I can get these nails out. There aren't many, to be honest, on these pieces that I've selected, but the last thing I want is to put them through machinery and then put a chink in blades or something like that. Don't think that's going to come out either. So I know the table saw has a good enough blade to actually cut through the steel, but that one just is not going to come out. That's just going to bend over and then snap, isn't it? So that's the two parts for the shelf dimensioned width-wise. So the total will be 200 millimeters. Now 1.1 meters, that is there, which is ever so nice because I can then lose that knot hole, and that piece there is splitting a little on the groove, so that's good. It also means I think what I'll do is, looking at the other piece, there's a nail there where I've scraped some of the wood in chopping it off, so I think if I make the cut the other way, although if I start it from about here, I can lose the two nails, one at either end, which means that there is only one here that will be showing. So let's go from here. $1,100. I'm going to make it slightly longer. I'll make it 1120. That way I can adjust everything for a good finish. Right, I'll just cut those off. I'll just use the jigsaw, I think, with that one. Now, interestingly, there is a difference. I can't say I noticed it when I worked with these pieces before, but there's a right and a wrong way to put the tongue and grooves together, because if I put them like that, there's a distinct lip there. But if I turn this one round, and that's almost flat, so I'll have to remember that when I put them together. But anyway, that's the shelf, roughly dimensioned. Now the next thing I want to do is what? I think it's working out where I'm going to put the wall brackets. So with the pitch pine, with it coming from a chapel, it's been varnished, yes, but the varnish is, well, the chapel was built in 1909, so it's old. And the best thing I found for removing the old varnish is a commercial professional paint remover. Now this is a nice gel, so I find it easier to put some in a jar and use a paintbrush to apply it, and then just leave it. It doesn't take long, but it takes repeated applications. But of course, you have to wear gloves. And I usually find it's best to do several short pieces at a time, because by the time you've finished applying it to one piece, the first is ready to remove. And it's ideal for rejuvenating old brushes as well. Now, it's such good varnish that they used that it will take several applications, but just an ordinary paint scraper and it comes off quite nicely. Oops. And this, of course, is why you need gloves. I usually find 2 applications works nicely, but and carry on until complete. So that's 2 applications. All I've done is one side to start with, and just the paint stripper, and then wash it down or wipe it down with white spirits. You can use water, but it does tend to raise the grain if you use water. And once that's dry, I'll be able to see whether it needs another application. And then all I need to do is wash everything out in ordinary water. the problem with all of the waste paper is all of the varnish, so it won't matter that much that this water just gets thrown outside. But it's rejuvenating this brush very nicely. So I've stripped all of the old varnish off that I can using chemical means. I'm just going to finish everything now with a quick sand, taking it 40, 80, 120, and then I can start assembling the main shelf.